Hi guys, Andy here. This is a bit of an intro. I've been doing some creator stories and I just wanted to introduce this next one. It's with a creator called Coin Noob, known as Griff in the community, and it's his, we had a chat and it's a bit of his story, how he got into where he was, you know, like I've done with all my other creative ones. The people take me where they want to take themselves and what they're comfortable with. Griff's story is really cool. Really cool. We're going to do a part 2. There's some incredibly good content in there, and I believe, you know, he was really brave with where he took the story. I would really recommend you sticking with, you know, through the whole story on this one. It's really cool. I'm really proud that people are comfortable enough to come on and talk about their stories, and I feel very, very privileged. It's a bit of a must, this one. I think you'll really enjoy it. Anyway, sit back, pour yourself a drink, make yourself a cup of tea, and enjoy the story. See you later. Bye. So, I have the delightful pleasure, after a long time in the making, to have Coin Noob on my channel, on the W.O.T podcast channel. Hello, buddy. How are you?
Hello, sir. How the devil are you?
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. This has been a long time coming. I'm going to call you Griff because you don't mind me calling you Griff. I'm not going to call you Coin Noob. It's easier to call you Griff. Mate, yeah, it's been a long time coming, this one. We've tried it a couple of times. We've ended up just talking without recording. So, we've got a bit of feedback. Hello? You still there? I've lost you. Where you gone?
I'm here, sorry.
Oh, you're back. It all went a bit weird. Yeah, it's a real pleasure. I'm looking forward to this one, mate. So I'm going to kick it off for us to get to know Griff, Coin Noob, where and a little bit about his life and where it all started as little Griff once upon a time. Whereabouts was you? Whereabouts did you grow up, dude?
I think you need a paleontologist to go back to where I started.
Great. This is going to be interesting.
Born in 71, which is, if some people haven't worked it out, that's why there's a 71 at the end of my name.
Of course.
In the Midlands.
All right, okay.
And so I'm a Brummie boy, really. You know, it's great, eh, Marky?
Nice.
Thankfully, I've lost the accent because I think it's just overtaken Liverpool as the worst accent in the UK, hasn't it, Birmingham? So,
no comment.
Yeah, the accent has disappeared, probably down to the fact that we're sort of a ex-forces family, so we got posted around a lot in Cyprus and Germany and all over the place, really. So the accent didn't really get a chance to take hold because from a young age we were as I was born, we moved to Cyprus, to a military base there. And then I don't really remember it because I was like, you know, just a baby.
Yeah.
And then we got posted to St Athan in Wales and Cranwell and Wattisham and Coltishall and all over the place. So yeah, I've moved around a bit. Been a bit of a forces life where you get posted every 3 years or so.
Okay. But, so from your earliest memories, definitely as a little lad, you was just all over the place. So did that give you much time to settle down, or I suppose as a child, I don't know how you felt, it was just normal? Was that just normal for you?
When people always ask that question when they find out you're what you're called a forces brat or a scaly brat.
Yeah.
And it's just a lifestyle. Especially as we were my siblings and I were all born into it. So it's a bit sad when you change schools and lose your friends, but because you're so used to it, you just make new friends, and it's quite an experience to meet so many different people and grow up with different cultures and, you know, living in different countries. And, you know, I think it broadens your mind. Do you know what I mean? There's friends I've got here who've because I live in Norfolk. There's friends I live here who've never been on a boat or a plane or never been anywhere.
Yeah.
Don't have passports. I think that's really sad. There's a big wide world out there. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. So would you say that, so I'm trying to get my head around what it must have been like. Would you say it was exciting? It was never boring? Did you ever get fed up with the moves? Did you ever think, oh God, I've only just settled here? What sort of age did that ever come into a young age at all? Or you just continually went with the flow?
You just go with the flow. In your more sort of formative years, I was in Germany, in West Germany, in a what used to be an RAF base called RAF Gütersloh, which is now an army barracks. And you go to school with English kids,
Yeah.
but you're just surrounded by Germans, and the country itself is. I just remember it being clean, never had any problems. You obviously have to, learn a bit of the lingo, können Sie mir bitte helfen and sprechen Sie Deutsch? You know what I mean? You've got to get by, haven't you, and be able to speak and order things. And
I've
sadly,
not.
I've lost a lot of that now because I was like, that was in my, age sort of 10 to 12, 13 type age.
Okay.
But I've got very fond memories of living in Germany. That they're very clean country. It's you don't see it's really frowned upon to throw litter or have chewing gum on the floor. If you walk around the streets of London, it's just wall to wall chewing gum all over the pavements. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
rubbish and cigarette ends and stuff. You don't really get that in Germany.
Yeah.
They did tend to pick on us a little bit. The German police or Polizei, when they see a GB stick on the back of your car going down the autobahn, you tend to be the ones that get pulled over by the police. But
Oh, really?
other than that, it was just I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. I started high school in Germany and met a couple of friends there that I still know to this day. So you get to that age where you do start meeting people and
Yeah.
forming little friendships. Even though we just talk on Facebook or whatever or
Yeah.
WhatsApp. It's really good fun. But once we got posted to Coltishall, where the Lightnings were just leaving and the Jaguars were coming in. That was exciting to be so close to the action and having all these fighter jets flying around everywhere, and you don't hear them after a while because I lived there for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And that was our last posting, you see, before my dad came out of the RAF. Yeah, so we ended up sort of hanging around that area really.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to go back to Germany.
Mhm.
So what age was you posted out in Germany from when to when, roughly?
Somewhere around 9 to 12 or 13 or 10 to 13, that kind of age. So we were there for about 3.5 years.
Okay, and then you come back to the UK.
Yeah, and then back to the UK then. But obviously I've travelled extensively since then.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Just going through those early years. So between 9 and 12, I'm trying to think, 9 and 12. So socially, what's it like being on a base between, that age? Are you allowed out the base, or are you strictly only allowed in the base? What's it like?
Yeah, you're in what's called married quarters. So you have a house.
Yeah.
And obviously forces properties, they have sort of strict rules. You can't really have wallpaper or decorate too much. It's got to sort of be a bland magnolia everywhere because you obviously hand that quarter over to the next occupant and it has to pass a very rigorous inspection where they come around and check for grease in screw heads in the oven and things like that, and you get fined if it's not clean. So it's just a way of life. You get so used to doing what's called a march out, and everything's just got to be redecorated and absolutely immaculate, and you get charged for dust and grease anywhere or fingerprints, and the house has to be immaculate when you move out, but then you get the benefit of a nice clean house to move into.
Sure.
Wherever you're posted next, because that was like an RAF wide thing. It was probably in the army as well, I would imagine, but
yeah.
It was a bit boring. You couldn't really paint your room black or anything like that, or put crazy wallpaper up or anything daft. But you're on I was on the outskirts of the actual military base itself, as you are with most married quarters. So you're not actually within the barbed wire perimeter or anything like that. But obviously you're a stone's throw away from the actual gate entrance. But you're surrounded by other British kids, really.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are obviously Germans on the periphery of that village. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of flats, and we actually had Italians on one side and Germans on the other, and they had more trouble between them, the kids fighting each other, than we would, because we were literally a street called Blankenhagenstrasse,
Yeah.
and one long road going down to the base entrance, and it was Germans on one side and Italians on the other, and they were always fighting each other. We were just in the middle laughing. I remember once I found a little turtle
All
walking
right.
down the road, and I thought, "Oh my God, what's this?" And I put it in a little box and put some paper in there and a little thing of water.
Yeah.
And I was just walking up the street to see if anyone, was looking for a missing turtle.
Turtle.
And
Yeah.
this group of Italians came towards me, this group of kids with baseball bats and chains. And I thought, oh my God.
Really?
I thought I'm going to get the living, what, kicked out of me here.
Yeah.
And this gang leader came up to me and pulled the box off me. And by the grace of God, it was his turtle.
No way.
Yeah, honestly, they were about to literally kick the living daylights out of me. And this bloody turtle was his. And he was hugging me and saying thank you. And oh my
Oh,
God, I've got goosebumps now thinking about it.
yeah, yeah, I can see. Yeah,
I honestly thought my time was over.
literally shitting yourself.
I'd walked into the middle of like gang warfare between the Italians and the Germans. But yeah, it was
Wow.
his turtle. What are the
Yeah,
odds of that?
yeah.
So I got
So,
away with that.
so
But yeah.
was this all going on between 9 and 12-year-olds, or there was older kids there? Was it?
Slightly old. I mean, there's younger
Okay.
kids there,
Yeah,
as little gangs do, sort of have little gangs, but
yeah,
sort of 13 to 16, that kind of age group. And I was only like 9 or 10 at the time.
yeah, yeah.
It was quite intimidating having a big bloke come towards you with a baseball bat. And I thought, oh my God.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And for schooling on that sort of setup, mate, is it all in-house, or do you go to a local school outside, or?
Yeah, we had a school on the base,
Okay.
a primary school, Andrew Humphrey Primary School, and again it was just all forces kids.
Yeah.
So you basically create your own little England wherever
Okay.
you are, as Brits do when they go abroad. They want Spain to be British and moan that there's no pubs or they can't get an English breakfast. Hello,
Yeah.
you're in Spain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm not. Oh dear, oh dear. I want to get away from that culture. If I'm going somewhere, I want to envelop their culture
Yeah,
and
exactly.
learn about their things. I wouldn't dream of going anywhere British, so to
Hmm.
speak, in a
Yeah.
foreign country.
Yeah.
But that's just how it was. Obviously, you're all together. But obviously, we had German friends.
Yeah.
The culture in Germany was that everybody had a cellar, and you had a bar down there, and it was a very the social side in Germany was very heavily alcoholic based, and there was always a party and a barbecue going on in somebody's cellar somewhere. And sometimes you get friendly with the locals, and I remember having a really good friend called Jürgen, who's I think he had the hots for my sister actually, but yeah, you do integrate a little bit. You can't help it because you
Yeah,
meet people
sure.
around the shops and
Yeah.
things like that. You get friendly with the shopkeepers, and we'd get our 50 pfennigs, which is about 10p.
Yeah.
And they had this shop called the Skoll, which was a coffee shop, but it had all these tubs of sweets all laid out on the front
Oh, yeah.
counter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd go in with your 50 pfennigs and you'd go and you'd just point because, you didn't speak German then. And you'd be like, eins, zwei, eins, zwei, drei. And you'd fill up this bag of sweets. And oh my God, the smell of coffee and tobacco was
Nice.
incredible. Really old school, deep,
Yeah.
dark oak wooden shelves. And you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
ladies in there were so funny. Yeah, it was, I missed it. I really do enjoy Germany. Yeah, it's a great country. It really is.
Yeah. It sounded like it. Said you've got some very deep memories there, just from a
Mm.
young lad, which is really, really great. It's really cool to have those sort of memories. And how did you find school? Did you like school when you was sort of 9 to 12? So was it okay or
Um,
not? Did you get on all
not
right? Or
Yeah, not too bad until I mean high school. I started high school in Germany, King's High
yeah,
School in Germany, which is did have quite a few different people and cultures there. That was a bit of an eye opener.
yeah,
When you leave the relative safety of primary school and then or
yeah,
middle school,
yeah,
and then go to high school. But yeah, that's where I met some really great friends. That I still speak to today, and
yeah.
yeah, it's all right.
So you would have done that. What? You would have gone to high school over there. What, for a year, 2 years,
Yeah.
2 years, and then you got the dues. I presume you was coming back to the UK.
Yes, that was a bit of a sad day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about how did that go? How did that go? Because
Um,
because it's quite influential at that age, isn't it? You're sort of feeling yourself and getting your roots put down with your friends and whatever, and
yeah,
then it's
some
like,
of
oh,
them. yeah, some of them, a couple of the people that I was with ended up getting posted back to the same RAF base here as well.
Okay.
So that was quite cool to have some friends already here. But to come back from that sort of German culture,
Yeah.
back to an English culture at that age was a bit of, oh, so this is what it's like to be British. You know what I mean? Because you just get used to the German way of life, how they
Of
speak.
course, yeah.
They're very abrupt how they speak. It sounds like they're being in a bad mood all the time. They're not. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just the way they speak. They sound very harsh and everything's quite loud. And
Yeah.
then I came back to England and everyone's sort of speaking softly and I thought, oh, blimey.
So yes, I presume, was you still 12 or you 13?
Yeah, about 12 or 13 when we came
12,
back
13.
to the UK.
So
But
you're based back in, oh, what did you say you was?
Coltishall. Yeah,
Coltishall.
Coltishall in Norfolk. Yeah, they had the Lightnings there just as
Yeah,
we got
man.
there and they were just changing over to the Jaguars.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad was a sergeant armourer, so he put the bombs and that on the aircraft and
Oh, wow.
yeah, did all that kind of thing. He was one of the first ones out in the old Thumrate Desert with the old Kuwait War and all that kind of stuff. So that was a bit of a scary time
Ooh,
with all that going on with old Saddam, you know.
absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but it was like a total blackout. You didn't get to know whether he was okay or where he was or,
Yeah.
get to speak to him and stuff like that. So you end up sort of being the man of the house and
Yeah.
that creates problems in itself.
Yeah.
When your parent comes back and suddenly wants to sort of take over again and you've sort of assumed that role.
Yeah.
It's created a lot of friction between me and my dad. We were never really that close. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was very old school, very military,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up, going through different phases and things that you do. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Doing my little dance routines
Yeah.
in the bedroom with the carpet rolled up. You know what I mean? He just thought that was a bit feminine what I was doing, so he used to
Yeah.
try and butch me up a little bit, so to speak. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
take me out. I remember going out in Germany. The kids were allowed to go out and see the guys on detachment in the woods, firing blanks
Okay.
at each other. Yeah, and we
All
got
right.
there,
Okay.
and all these big rifles were all set up on the ground with tripods, and we got to shoot them. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really good fun. But yeah, other than that, we sort of he had just an old fashioned way about him, which I guess he would do now. I mean, he's mid-70s now. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
it's a different life now, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. So one thing I forgot to ask you, and you've mentioned your sister. Was there? How many of you were there?
I've got an older sister, and then there's me, and then a younger sister, and then a younger brother.
There's four of
And
you.
yeah, there's four. So I'm, how old am I? 52, 53? Can't remember now. But basically my sister's 54, I'm 53, my other sister's 52, and then my brother's 49, I think.
Oh wow, all quite close then.
Very close, yeah, very close. In fact, me and my sister Dawn were in the same year at school because her birthday's on August 25th and mine's September 1st.
Oh wow.
So I missed out going up the next year by one day,
Sure, yeah.
and she missed out going, by one. So we were both in the same year, even though we were a year apart. So she was
Yeah.
the youngest in the year, and I was the oldest in the year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite weird. But
Wow. And sorry, before we skip into like your later teenage years, did you all get on relatively well when you was younger?
I think all brothers and sisters fight, or the majority
Yeah,
of them do.
yeah,
I used to have to share a room with my brother,
yeah.
and I absolutely detested him. The sound of his breathing annoyed me, and he'd be laying in the bottom bunk, and he'd be snorting and grunting, and I'd just jump off the bed and put a pillow over his face. Do you know what I mean? And then my sister would come in after hearing his muffled screams and smash me over the back of the head with the yard broom to get me off. You know what I mean? But it was
wow.
we just clashed terribly, probably because we shared a room.
Yeah,
And he would do things like, I was walking past him one morning and my dad was quite strict. He made us do all the chores and do our own uniforms and things like that, which is great.
yeah.
Hated it at the time, but it teaches you to be able to live your own life basically. So I appreciate everything he's done now. But
Sure, yeah.
he was ironing his school shirt and I walked past and he shoved the iron into my arm.
Oh really?
And burnt my arm, and just stuff like that. We just tit for tat. The most annoying thing he used to do, I'd walk into the kitchen, and he'd collapse to the floor screaming, And of course, my dad would come rushing in. He'd be like, "What's
Yeah.
happened? What's happened?" He'd go, "Oh, Griff hit me. Griff hit me." I'm like, "I haven't touched you." But sure, that explains why I used to get him back at night. You know what I mean? Because he
Yeah. Yeah.
deliberately try and get me in trouble with my parents.
Yeah.
And yeah, what a little fraud. Yeah, I nearly swore there. Can we swear on this thing or
You
not?
can say whatever you like, mate.
A little shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was always trying to get me in trouble, and
Yeah.
it never changed. We're still
Yeah.
not close today, which is a bit sad.
Yeah.
We just all four of us are very independent. We were brought up that way, so we've all got our own lives. We say hello
Yeah.
to each other now and again and meet up
Sure.
at family functions, but we're all so different.
Yeah.
And we're just all so fiercely independent. And
Yeah.
we've all gone off early and done our own things and
Yeah.
all done our own traveling and done different things. So I'm proud of all of them, but I've just never been close to my brother. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
Sure.
I don't know whether other people experience that with brothers, but
Yeah.
I'm still fairly close to my sisters. I talk to them quite regularly, but they live in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
So you just sort of tend to meet up for weddings and funerals, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, for sure. Cool. So let's come back. You come back to UK at 13. So
Yeah.
take us through that sort of 13 to 18-year-old Griff. School wise, social wise, what was life like? How long was you on the airbase for? Till take us through that sort of next phase.
Yeah, I was on there for quite a long time because that was my dad's last posting, and he still had like 10 years to go, and just opted to not get moved anymore with us being at that age where we were starting high school, and he just felt it was more important.
Yeah.
Keep us here. My sister was going to college and stuff like that. So we were there for quite a long time on the base. I basically grew up on the base there with the other forces kids, and we didn't have internet. We didn't have mobile phones. I had an old wooden box with two just little wooden boxes that came out with a dial on like that. And you had a black TV screen, a square white ball, and these two white paddles that moved up and down with these turn of these dials. That was the level of our gaming at that age. You know what I mean? Yeah, really
cool.
Really basic, like Binatone game thing. It was really basic.
Yeah.
And then we upgraded to the Commodore 16.
Ooh.
It was, tape driven. And they gave you this piece of paper that was 64 pages long of manual code you had to type into the Commodore 16. And after 6 weeks of typing this code in, it played a tune. You know what I mean? It was, oh my God, really, really basic. So we were outside all the time. We were making dens and climbing trees and hanging out at the parks and all that kind of stuff. What kids used to do before the mobile phones came along and ruined everything. Proper good fun. You were allowed to stay out until the street lights came on, and then you had to come home.
Yeah.
It was really, really enjoyable. School was great fun. Not starting in the first year, that was a bit hard, and my bloody mother sent me to school with a briefcase as my school bag.
Okay, cool.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, that got stomped on in the playground day
100%, yeah.
You know what I mean? A bloody briefcase. I thought I was the bee's knees on the bus that morning with all their scruffy rucksacks, and I had a shiny leather briefcase. It didn't last very long.
No, I'm sure.
I had to join in with the vomit and blood covered rucksacks from there on. Do you know what I mean? To fit in with everybody else, but. It was cool. He'd be down the bottom of the field smoking at the break times, getting caught by the headmaster and marched up to the office by your ear and stuff like that. They'd just finished the paddle and they weren't allowed to hit us anymore. Okay. So his paddle was proudly hanging in his office, but and you can see him looking at it every time he was telling you off, but he wasn't allowed to paddle you anymore. So that was quite nice. But I was a bit of a naughty boy. I think I was outside his office more than I was in school class.
Really?
Yeah, I skived off a lot in the earlier years. Me and my sister were buggers. We'd go to school in the morning, or pretend to go to school in the morning. We both worked. Hide around the corner from the bus stop, wait for the bus to go, and then walk out and go, "Oh no, I've missed the bus! How terrible!" And then we'd just go home and raid the cupboards and eat crisps all day and watch telly, you know what I mean? And then pretend, sneak out the house before mum came home from work and pretend we'd come in from school. But obviously we got caught in the end. The welfare came round with this bit of paper saying that I'd missed 9 weeks of school in one term and my sister had missed 11 weeks.
Really?
And yeah, they had these sheets of paper with all these X's on, all the days we missed. Me and my sister burnt it on the fire.
I love it.
But they found out eventually. So,
Yeah,
but once you start getting in the top year or the year before, because obviously they have all different numbers now, but it was the fourth year, and then your final year was the fifth year, fifth form.
yes, that's it. Yeah,
And in the fourth form, they said, right, this is the year now that's going to be important for your exam. So
sure.
from the fourth year onwards, I actually concentrated and just sort of changed really and started
Right.
worrying about, my exam results and stuff. But I got 7 GCSEs,
Right.
A's, B's, and C's, so I was quite chuffed with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did knuckle down in the fourth form, thankfully, but I was up until
yeah.
the first, second, and third year, I was a little tearaway.
Yeah, I admit I was pretty much the same, although mine just went all the way through to the end. Um, were they called, you got me thinking now, it's really cool. Were they called options then?
I think so. We were the first year that did the GCSE. We were the guinea
Yes.
pigs.
Yeah. And I think, oh, no, sorry. Yeah,
No, I
I
do
was,
remember options. I remember some
yeah, I
things in my
think
head
you had
about
to
options.
pick your options
Yes,
in
that's
the
the worst thing
third
about
year.
it. Yeah, you had to
Yeah.
decide what job you were
Do
going
for
to
the
be
next
doing
two.
at like
That's it.
14,
Yeah.
15. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really difficult because, your mind changes more often than you change your
Of
underwear at
course.
that age.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, that was difficult. But I obviously stuck with the basics. My forte was in English. Really, I always did well in
Okay.
English all throughout school, and always used to get A plus on everything I did that was to do with it. I'm very good with words and linguistics and imagination and stories. And yeah, if they would task us to write a 4-page essay, I'd write a 30-page essay. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And yeah, I really do like the English language.
Yeah, you talk very well, dude, which is nice.
I like lots of languages. We're very, I think anyway, and people might hate me for saying this, but I think English are very lazy
Oh,
when
yeah.
it comes to languages because, in most places in the world you go, you'll always find someone that speaks English. But
Sure.
to me personally, if I'm going to a country, I want to at least learn the basics
Yeah.
so I can say hello, goodbye, where's this, thank you, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
the amount of languages I can say hello, goodbye, and where's the beer in is incredible. But I just think it's politeness, you know what I mean? Instead of
Yeah, of course it
you
is.
know shout in English louder and hope they understand you. Do you know what I mean? Like some people do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
adding an O on the end in Spanish. Where is O the banco? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. The banker.
That kind of stuff. So
That's cool. So yeah, that's quite a different. Well, they call it high school now, but I call it senior school still because it was back in the day. Half of it was. It sounded like you got up to lots of fun, and then you knuckled down. And did you do okay with you got? Did you say was it 7 or 8
yeah, I got
GCS?
seven GCSEs,
Cool.
and my dad, being the way my dad was, obviously wanted me to join the forces.
Oh,
But
right. Okay.
I never wanted that. I never wanted that lifestyle for myself or for my future kids, what I thought I might have at the time.
Yeah.
So I took a civil service job for the MOD. So
At
I still worked,
16.
yeah, when I left school. Well, no, I'll tell you now. I'll tell you what happened first. Because
Okay.
I knew I didn't want to join the RAF, and I couldn't tell him because he'd be like uber disappointed.
Yeah.
So when I first left school, that's when they had the YTS schemes. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes.
£27 a week.
Yeah.
You thought you were a millionaire with this £27 a week.
Yeah.
I didn't opt for that. I managed to get a job. Every RAF base has what's called a NAFI, a Navy,
Yes.
Army, and Air Force Institute shop.
Yeah.
And I worked in the fuel station attached to the NAFI on the base.
Okay.
And I was getting £76 a week.
At 16.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I was like, stuff your £27. I'm having 70. I was,
Jesus.
I was the big baller then. Do you know what I mean? I had a moped and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, all the girls were after me. Do you know what I mean? It was great, but that
yeah.
lasted about 6, 7 months, and then a job came up on the actual base itself in the civil service.
Okay.
So,
What year are we talking here, Griff?
oh crikey, 19. Oh, let my brain a second. 71, 87, something like that. When I
87.
started
Yeah.
to work, yeah, somewhere
Okay.
around there. My brain's not
Cool.
brilliant with dates and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just
But
nice for context, really.
yeah. So yeah, I was the high flyer then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All
So
my
this
mates were
job.
on YPS schemes. I just
Yeah.
went straight into it. I wanted money,
Yeah.
basically. I didn't
All
want to go
right.
to
Okay.
college. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just
Yeah.
knew I wanted money.
Okay.
And
What was that driver? What
I
was
don't know. I just
just was
enjoyed
there?
buying. I think I was a greedy little pig, and I just wanted to buy loads of sweets. You know what I mean? And cigarettes, basically. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah,
You can't keep stealing out your mum's purse and nicking all her fags, can you?
you can't, mate.
No, do you know what
I
I mean?
know what you're saying. I was the same at 16.
I just wanted money. I didn't want more education. I just wanted money. So
Yeah,
it all worked out in the end. I've done sort of other things going forward with
sure.
diplomas and
Yeah.
training and things like that that I wanted to do and that have fitted in with where I wanted to go career wise. But at
Uh,
the time, I just wanted money. But I was on that base, working on that base. So I'd grown up there from the age of 12 to I don't think we left the base until I was about 22.
okay.
That's when my dad finally came out the RAF, and they moved to Norwich, which is our main city in Norfolk. And he bought a newsagent's shop with his retirement money, and ran a little newsagent, like the little corner shop thing type
Yeah,
thing.
that's it. Yeah.
And put his money into that and bought property and
Nice.
yeah, because he got quite a good payout. He took early retirement,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
another big lump sum on top of his fee for finishing anyway. So he
Yeah,
got a really good lump sum
good,
and bought a house and stuff like that. So that was really good. And
good.
yeah, so I was working on the base for 15 years.
So that you started that at 17. So you got an
Yeah, at
opportunity to
17.
work for the civil service.
Yeah, and
Um,
that was a good job because the civil service is back then it was just one of the best payers, incredible pension,
yeah,
incredible bonuses and things that we did. And, it was good fun. I probably didn't appreciate it at the time, but looking
no,
back, it was, sorting out all the pilots and getting all their gear ready and fitting them for helmets and their flying suits and
oh
all that kind
really?
of stuff. Yeah, it was because I alternated between as I got promoted each time because I went up through the ranks quite quickly, and we have a similar rank structure in the civil service which equates to the RAF rank. So
Yeah,
you start off as like an SAC, do you know what I mean, an admin assistant, and you go to AO, EO, HEO, and I got quite up there, and I was in charge of one of the technical clothing store and domestic supply flights. So one of them did all the barrack furniture for all the houses and all the offices and stuff like that.
okay.
And then I got promoted into the technical clothing, which is like all the flying suits, helmets. I mean, really expensive stuff that has to be fitted to each individual pilot.
Sure.
That was really, really good fun, and it ended up being in tech stores where I had what's called a government procurement card of £1 million. So if there was what's called an AOG or an aircraft on ground, and they couldn't source the part through the normal USAS system, I could go out and buy the part. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I ended up at that level, but then obviously we got word that the base was going to be closing down.
And
So
this was all on base at,
all on base, yeah, all on the
okay.
base, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And
But yeah,
how many years was that? Sorry, mate. Just trying to get,
15 years I worked there from 17 to whatever 17 plus 15 is,
32, is that?
something like that.
Okay. Oh, that sounds really interesting. So rather than skip all those years, we just bring it into context. What was Griff like? How did you, because that's it's quite an influential time in anybody's life, isn't it? Those sort of ages. How was that with you? Was it good socially, or was you just driven by money? Was you workaholic, or was there lots of opportunity to move on? Did you ever get the chance
Um,
to go anywhere while you was doing that? All those sort of
yeah,
things.
the being there itself, and again living on that base culture where we look after our own, and we used to have big parties when all the guys used to come back from Iraq or Thumrait or wherever they were. Do you know what I mean? These big hangar parties, and
Wow.
it was just amazing. And the connections you make on the base with all the different sections. I give somebody a few pairs of socks, and they bring me some beef burgers from the mess and stuff like. You just this
All
whole
right.
culture of all looking after each other. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
probably a bit naughty to be honest.
Yeah.
Abusing the stocks. But I mean, you do what you do. You know, people come to you and say, "Oh, I really need a new sleeping system." You know, they had these special Arctic sleeping bags that
Yeah.
came in like a compression sack and these Gore-Tex liners and hundreds of pounds worth. You know what I mean? And they
Wow.
maybe lost one because obviously I used to anyone that cleared or got posted would have to hand all their kit back in,
Yeah.
and it was me that used to have to clear them and then raise what's called an F664B, which is the bill if they'd lost anything on their list that they'd signed out for. So of course, your mates come in and you go, "Oh, just scrap that. That was damaged, wasn't it?" You know what I mean? And you'd write it off, and everything got posted onto what's called a ghost inventory (AVA). So it just disappeared into the ether. This account that you posted all this scrap stuff to was, there was no accounting for it. It just disappeared. There was no metrics anywhere for it.
Wow.
It was just literally an account you could post things to that removed it from the stock system.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it was so open to a little bit of
Abuse.
fancy paperwork, shall we say? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it was a really really good time. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Right up until
I
it
can
sort of
imagine. Yeah.
I knew it was going to close. Up to the age of 32, whatever it was that
Yeah.
that it was going to. I think it closed about a year after I left.
Yeah.
But it was like on that wind down. Do you know what I mean? And you just knew that you had to sort of move on from there. But yeah, you miss it when you've been brought up with a military background all your life
Sure.
from a baby.
Yeah.
It's all you know. So it's been more difficult not moving anywhere, if anything else.
Yeah.
Which is why I sort of ended up going off and traveling and
Sure.
getting a great big fat motorbike and just riding off around Europe and stuff like that. I'm quite a some people like to have an itinerary and they worry about
Yeah.
traveling alone and having things. I don't care. I'll go on a plane, fly any vehicle, drive any vehicle or motorbike anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me, and I'll go alone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Quite happily. I've got no worries. I do my research. You know what I mean? Find
Yeah.
out what there's certain cultures where you can't shake with your left hand and all this kind of stuff. There's all sorts of things about different
Okay.
countries that you should make yourself aware of before you go. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
You don't to avoid any faux pas, as it were. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I love it. I love a bit of traveling.
So it sounded like that 15 years was party, 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 a great camaraderie and almost sort of family orientated, but in not a family, but must have been really cool to be around that for quite a few years. And
Yeah.
obviously you progress there was progression stages during that bit
Hmm.
of your career, and you sort
Yeah,
of
definitely.
you sound like you just 100% work hard. Um, was there, and I mean, we'll talk about this maybe a little bit later. Was there any times where you were starting to think about any sort of looking after your money, or was it just like, yay, let's go, let's just enjoy life, you know?
No, I don't want to jump ahead, but it
No.
literally has only sort of come to the fore in the last
Okay.
couple of years.
Okay.
So all that time, I just knew that you needed money
Yeah.
to be able to enjoy the things you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be driving. I had my first driving lesson on my 17th birthday.
Excellent.
I was just running at everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd had so many experiences. I just wanted to have more and go different places and go back and visit friends in different countries and things like that. I've always been really good and independent. I don't care where I go. Nothing scares me. If you said to me, right, Griff, tomorrow you're going to Uzbekistan or anywhere, I'd go. Do you know what I mean? I'm not worried about anything like that. You know what I mean? I'm quite a good talker, as in I can get myself out of trouble using my
Yeah.
mouth. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've never ever had to use violence or raise my voice, or I've never had a fight at school. Never had
Okay.
any problems. I'm pretty good at diffusing situations.
Sure.
Because I think that's probably my mum and dad used to argue like crazy.
Yeah.
And being the older boy, it was always me that had to go down and like diffuse the arguments. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And there'd be crockery being smashed up walls and lamps being thrown around and tables
Yeah.
being broken. And I mean, really good arguments.
Yeah.
And I used to diffuse them. Do you know what I mean? I used to just get down in between them. So I'm not fearful of much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Apart from spiders, I do have a bit of a phobia about spiders. Somebody told me once that when you eat about 3 spiders a year, they come down on their little threads at night when you're snoring with your gob open, and they just fall straight into your mouth. And I don't know whether that's true or not. But that's enough for me to just hate spiders.
Well, that's just about that. That's a really good thing, memory for everybody on this podcast.
Sorry about that. But apparently you do. You eat spiders in your sleep, just to let you know. Thanks.
Nice. Well, I haven't died, so that must be nice. Maybe that's why I wake up spitting sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah. So leaving that military background at the age of 32,
Yes.
that's a long life to be in that kind of environment.
Well,
So
yeah,
it was
definitely.
a bit of a culture shock. Obviously, my dad left the RAF. We left the
Yeah.
married base.
Yeah.
I tried to stay with my dad for a little while, and I think my ended up having the whole situation changed all of our lives. My mum and dad split up. All
All
us
right.
kids went off in different directions.
Wow.
And it completely changed, like basically overnight. Everything we knew had changed. We all moved. We all had to find our own properties, and careers changed, and it was a massive difference coming out of that kind of life. Do you know what I mean? You just expect to be in it for your whole life, but coming to what I would call Civvy Street, basically,
Sure.
was a bit of a culture shock. Do you know what I mean? You feel protected when you're surrounded by an air force base, and as you say, the camaraderie between the families and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. You all looked after each other when you all the fathers are away fighting, all the mothers used to get together, and
Yeah.
all the kids became friends. It was just such a you don't realize how enclosed you all were until you come
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, things it took a bit of a turn after that, and luckily I got seconded into the general civil service from the MOD civil service. So it came from what they call a blue collar to white collar, and
Okay.
I was actually picked up by the Treasury in London.
All
So
right. Okay.
I worked for part of the Treasury called the Office of Government Commerce.
Okay.
And I completely niche area. I looked after Treasury-owned copyright and trademarks
Okay.
on a 1-year secondment before I left the civil service, and that was an oh my goodness. These are in the days of the duck pond scandal with all the MPs spending all our money on renovating their second homes and all this kind of
Okay.
stuff. The
Yeah.
scandals that all came out. I would go into work about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then me and my boss would go over the road to this quite posh coffee shop over the road, and, discuss things, for 45 minutes, an hour.
Yep.
And then we'd go back into the office. I'd answer a few emails, send out a few threatening emails with the backing of TSOL, which is Treasury Solicitors, to stop infringers that had stolen Crown copyright and written their own books based on, government-owned products. They had things like there's a project management methodology called Prince 2, which is like the de facto standard that you have to be a project manager, and that's owned by UK government. It's written by the Office of Government Commerce. And people have to sign up to it and do their training and get their foundation and then their practitioner. And I protected all of these brands, MOR, Management of Risk, Prince, all the brands owned by government, which people probably didn't even know were owned by the government.
Yeah.
And obviously people would take those books and write their own books, but they were so lazy, they'd literally take it, word for word verbatim and write their own books and call it Queen 4 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I'd find all these products online, check them against our products, and then they would get what's called a cease and desist letter. Backed by Treasury solicitors, and I shut down 250 companies that were illegally trading in Crown copyright.
Bloody hell.
Over a 2-year period, because I got seconded for a year, and then I was doing, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I was doing such a good job with that they extended it for another year. So I ended up having 2 years at the Office of Government Commerce. And my God, that was a 2 years. That was the most money I've ever earned in my life. I don't know how I got the job. I think that my manager at the time was trying to find somebody from outside the civil service. And the civil service do things in such a long, you've got to raise a form to raise a form to raise a form and employ 3 people to do it for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They loved, or they're certainly not as bad now, but back then they absolutely loved wasting money and spending millions of our taxpayers' money.
Sure.
And you try and, coming from a background where it's fitness and purpose at minimum cost, this military background and, everything's got to be this, that, and the other, to be from that extreme to the extreme where they money's no object. It was incredible. We'd make up these excuses. I shouldn't be saying all this, probably. Make up all these excuses to go and work down.
I was sitting there thinking, well, if you could say this.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd work at the Treasury in London, and we'd go down like maybe once or twice a week. And we had these, if you imagine like a Guardian newspaper, that kind of size,
Yeah.
we had these what's called business carnet tickets. So these were all first class train tickets with breakfast
Yeah.
on a ticket. You just tear out of the book and hand it over. No questions asked, no receipts required, no why have you used your whole book in this month? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were just, books, and off you'd go on this lovely little train in the morning, having a lovely cooked breakfast brought to your table and, filtered coffee. It was really lovely. Do you know what I mean? And you spend a nice little day or night in a 5-star hotel with, there's one of the hotels we stayed in had like this glass cellar that was like 8 stories tall with all these bottles of wine from all around the world, 8 stories high, and the bar staff were on ropes. So if you ordered a Beaujolais 1969, off they'd fly up these ropes and grab this bottle and come down with it like they were called bar angels. And up and down they'd go with it. Yeah, I mean, crikey, O'Reilly, do you know what I mean? And then being away, because you're working in London, you get an enhanced rate, and then you get like, £70 a day expenditure for food and stuff like that. It was, unbelievable time.
Wow.
But I think that's when I first realized, you know what, I'm getting all this money and I only need this much to live.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I'd really, without, subconsciously, started saving for, property and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, and even in just that 2 years, got me enough to put a good deposit down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It was an amazing salary and an amazing job.
An amazing experience by the sounds of it.
But it was literally a secondment, a 1-year contract that got extended to 2, which was unheard of. The way they did it, because if you go past 2 years, you're then classed as permanent staff, which they didn't have the budget for. So but I managed to get a good 2 years out of it, and that was incredible.
Yeah,
really, really good fun.
It sounds it. So I'm gonna have just a quick recap. So obviously you come out of the base back when you was about 32, and then the whole family set up, disintegrated by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
And then in that sort of time, you got this seconded job for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick question: how did the impact of did you ever let that get to you at all, of what happened with the family, or was it just okay, let's just crack on, let's get into this new job, bang, off we go type thing?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said before, I'm not really close to my dad. So when that happened and he got a house, and then mum and dad split up, I was sort of left on my own in the house with him, and he was maudlin about the split up and the divorce, and he was more miserable because he's a very miserable, selfish, moody man anyway. And it was unbearable, you know what I mean? Then he suddenly said, I want £200 a month rent, all this kind of stuff to live here. I think he was just trying to get rid of me, do you know what I mean? So I just had to leave, and I had nowhere to go. I was sleeping in my car, sofa surfing, all that kind of stuff for quite a while. That was quite a bad time, really, do you know what I mean? And I went to the council offices, and they put me on their lists, and I thought, well, I'm never going to get anywhere. 9 days later, they offered me a flat.
Okay.
So I was really, really chuffed about that. Do you know what I mean? So
someone's looking after you.
Yeah, thank goodness. I think at the time the rent was £26 a week.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing. And they kept coming round, and they fixed everything, and if something was broken, they'd replace it, and it was great. I didn't mind being a council boy. It didn't bother me in the slightest.
Absolutely. I just think there's a lot of people listening to this now going, what? £26 a week?
£26 a week. I mean, that letter offering me this flat changed my life.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Financially, everything. I was living on the streets, and suddenly got this flat, not realizing years later that I would buy it off the council. I know some people are upset with the right to buy scheme, but I don't care. I was in that position, and I took advantage of it. Do you know what I mean? So
of course
I lived in the flat for quite a few years, and then I bought it off the council,
greatly
reduced 67% off the purchase price.
Wow.
Which was a huge amount. They just send out 3 valuers, take a mean, and then take off the discount what you'd earned for living there. You get with flats, it was more at the time.
Yeah.
And then houses, you got like 40% for living for 2 years, and then 2% a year every year you lived in it after that.
Yeah.
And at that stage, it worked out as 67% off.
Yeah.
So I paid a pittance for it. Obviously, the mortgage companies threw themselves at me with offers of interest-free this and no fee this, and because obviously the day I signed up, I had £35,000 equity just immediately, stroke of the pen.
Yeah.
So of course they were happy, and I took some. I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't like people who come on and it sounds like you're bragging and boasting and stuff like that. And I've never ever been about that. I always worry about my silver channel being about, oh, look what I've got. It's never been about that, and I don't really talk about it. Let's just say that enabled me. I took advice that you could literally take 2 or 3 lots of £10,000 and put those on other property. So that's what I mean by it opened the door. It really, really did open the door. And I know that'll annoy some people, and they'll be pissed off that the Maggie Thatcher at the time was selling off all the cow. I don't care. I was in that situation. They offered me a bloody house for a third of the price. Who wouldn't take it? Let's be honest.
Well,
who wouldn't take it?
You just beat me to that, Griff, because
you know what I mean. Let's be honest about it.
I was about to say, I don't care what people say. They would have all done the same. Today, yesterday, tomorrow, the day after, whatever. So don't worry about all that old bollocks, mate.
No, I don't.
Everyone's all the same. Jesus Christ, when it comes to opportunities, and
you've got to grab it. Do you know what I mean?
The opportunity's there. You make the most of it, and it's what it is. That's what it is. Because if you don't, someone else will. That's for sure.
Of course they will.
So, was you commuting down to London?
Yeah, we'd go to Norwich train station and get on the first class carriage, of course, and sit there reading the Guardian like you were somebody. I was probably reading it upside down. I was just using it to show off. But you'd sit there having your full cooked English breakfast and your silverware, and it was incredible. I can't deny it was incredible, and like I said, that set me up. To not, but I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh my God, if I do this and this and save this much and this much, I'm going to have to. It wasn't on my mind. I could just tell I was earning far more money than I needed to live.
Yeah.
And so it just ended up building up naturally. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, this is great. I've got to take advantage of this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was
because it's not going to last forever. Do you know what I
mean? No, that bubble has to burst in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, so you will. I don't care what anyone says. Anybody would take advantage of the situation and the plushy lifestyle and staying in 5-star hotels and everything's paid for and you get expenses and I had a gold taxi card. I could ring a taxi at any time and never have to pay, no receipts.
Yeah,
it was honestly a lifestyle and a half working for the civil service at the time.
Yeah.
It's not as good now. There's still good benefits, but at the time, the civil service principal pension scheme was #1 in the world. Nothing could beat it. Yeah. The amount of money, and I will get a lump sum at 60, and a pension can start, and I mean a lump sum because I did 15 years, which is the maximum term your pension grows anyway. Yeah. So that has been growing ever since I left because it's linked to whatever it's linked to grow. Yeah. And big lump sum when I'm 60, and my pension can start then, and then it increases when I'm 65. Yeah. So it's an amazing pension scheme as well, which was just that added bonus of having that collective 15 years, and it was 17 years altogether in the civil service. So it was, amazing. Absolutely, man. I'm so fortunate. I can't say I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I have been fortunate with certain things. We all have bad things happen in life as well, and trust me, I've had plenty of those. Yeah. But I've had some good little hand ups along the way, which is, I'm eternally grateful for.
100%. So you're travelling down. You've got this general civil service job in the Treasury. And you do that for 2 years, and if I've got my maths right, we're around about 2004. You're roughly about 34-ish,
Yeah.
Hey, see, I'm taking notes.
Something like that. I might be a year or two out, but
Yeah.
I'll just to quickly explain why my dates might be a little bit wrong. I've got something called long COVID, which gives you there's 200 different symptoms to choose from when you've got long COVID, but one of mine is brain fog. So I do get a little bit confused with dates and times and where I was and
Okay.
where I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? So we're roughly in the right area. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
But
That's cool.
I'm not good with dates.
Yeah. No, 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 no. The only reason why I do it, buddy, is just so I can roughly get a context of the path, really.
Yeah.
More than anything. And the listeners can get a context of the path. So, and are we Griff on his own still, or we Griff with someone else, or is it all been just
I
you
think
driving, enjoying yourself, not even thinking about settling down, getting whatever?
I always knew from a young age that I'd want to get married and have kids. That was always in my mind.
Okay.
Because that's the norm. That's what you're
Yeah,
taught. That's what
of
you do. You
course.
follow your parents and you
Yeah.
follow everyone else around me. But I knew I was probably a little bit different. I didn't know what it was when I was younger.
Mhm.
I just knew I was different from the age of about 8, I would say.
Yep.
And it took me up until I was probably 22, 23 before I had to sort of just accept who I was and that I
Okay.
wasn't going to be getting married and I wasn't going to be having kids.
Yep.
Because it turns out I like different things,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
and
fine.
it was a bitter pill to swallow because it sort of trashed my dreams. Because at that time I thought, well, if I'm not with a woman, I'm not going to have any kids, and I'm not going to get married, and
Sure.
all this kind of stuff. So it was a bit of a rough, traumatic time
Yeah.
going through that process,
Yeah.
and then it's sort of combined with other things that were going on at the time with
Of
the
course.
parents splitting up, and
Yeah, yeah.
sadly my I won't go into details, but my nan
No.
was murdered by my uncle, and one of my mum's got like 8 sisters, and one of them was in a violent relationship, and my mum helped her escape from the Midlands and brought her to Norfolk. And when he came home from work and she wasn't there, he went round her mum's house, my grandma's house, thinking she would know. And because she didn't know, he lost his temper with her and stabbed her 56 times. So he ended up in prison, obviously, and took his own life in prison, which, great. Um, so going through realizing about my sexuality and mum and dad splitting up, nan being murdered, it was such a stressful time for me, and I had a bit of a breakdown,
Yeah.
and there was just too much for my brain to process and cope with,
Yeah.
and I ended up off work for 13 months
Okay.
with stress and anxiety, panic attacks, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it was a bit of a rough time, but
Bit of a rough time.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
wanted to go when you said about your was it your nan or your aunt?
yeah. My nan,
Your nan. I just
my
wanted to
mum's
go,
mum, yeah.
fuck, fuck,
I
man,
know, yeah, I know. But
fuck.
these there was just too much going on at the same time, dealing with
Yeah, of
who I
course.
was, and realizing that maybe I didn't really like the ladies as much as I thought I did, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
losing the home, and mum and dad splitting up, and there was just so much going on.
yeah.
My what I thought was my girlfriend, although we never really did anything at the time, then went off with my brother, and yeah, my head just imploded. I'm not
Fucking
going to
hell.
lie, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I mental health wasn't really talked about back then. Do you know what I mean? Like it is now. I do personally believe it's a lot better now, and men can talk more about things. And
100%.
I never talk about my story unless it comes up
Yeah,
in a conversation and people ask, because I do have that experience of going through traumatic things. We've all gone through traumatic things. But I've certainly been through my fair share of traumatic things throughout my life, and I'm always happy to help people
yeah,
that are experiencing things like that.
sure.
I do have to be a bit mindful about how many people you let into your life who
Of
are
course.
suffering with things like that, because it's obviously very draining
Yeah,
and difficult thing to do. And if people aren't at that stage where they're ready to help themselves, you're fighting a losing battle. When I was going through all of that, I was just waiting for these big hands to come down and scoop me up and save me, but
yeah.
those hands never came.
No,
They never came. And
no.
the day that dawned on me that if I was going to get out of this funk, I would have to do it myself was another life-changing day for me.
I'm sure.
And it was like my head's popped above the clouds after a year and a bit of completely having community psychiatric nurses come around and medicate me every day, and urinating in bottles around the
Okay.
sofa because I didn't even want to go to the toilet and things like that. Do you know what I mean? Sorry if I'm being a bit, if
No,
people are a
mate.
bit
No,
weirded out by that, but it's
no,
life.
it is.
You get to that stage, there was bailiffs knocking on my door. I hadn't paid any bills for a year. I hadn't had a shower or a bath. I was just sitting there in my own filth. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was you can't go much lower. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Contemplating unaliving type scenarios and all that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But honestly, something just hit me one day. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was, and I just thought, none of this is working. None of these pills are working. None of this secret psycho, nothing. And I got all my medication and threw it in the bin.
Wow.
And
Fair
the
play.
next day, it was honestly like my head popped up above the clouds. And I realized the situation I was in, because when you're in it, you don't realize you're in it.
No.
And I thought, oh my God, look at this filth. Look at this pile of bills behind my front door. Look at this window boarded up. And honestly, I was shocked by my own actions. And I literally went back to work the next day.
Wow.
Thankfully, my job, because I worked for the civil service at the time, they held my job open. They paid me full pay for 6 months and then half pay for another 6 months, which kept me eating, basically. Do you know what I mean? So I was so lucky to be in a job that had that level of care to their staff that were signed off sick. I'm not sure many companies have got those kind of policies in place, to be fair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was
Wow.
extremely fortunate that I literally rang my admin officer. I said, I'm ready to come back. She went, what? Wait, what? She said, you need to get signed off. So I made an appointment that afternoon with the doctors, got signed back fit again. Do you know what I mean? And I was at work the next day. And then
Wow.
I realized obviously then what debt I was in because I hadn't paid anything. And I think I was about £13,000 in debt.
Jesus.
So I took on an extra job at Mecca Bingo of all places.
Okay.
And I was a bingo caller. So by day I was in the civil service, 9 to 5 type job. And then in the evening, 6 till 10, 6 nights a week, I was at Mecca Bingo.
And
And I
that
was
just was over. You had this weird thing go on, and your head
Yeah,
was above the
just
ground, and
like
then
an
bang, you're
epiphany.
back on it.
I don't want to say it was anything religious because I'm not. I'm a complete atheist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But something came over me
Yeah.
just one day, completely out of the blue, and I just suddenly had that dawning realization that all these pills and these things they were taking to mong me out for the day, and I used to feel like I was floating above my own body, looking down on myself.
Wow.
That's how these drugs they had me on made me feel because none of the antidepressants were. I was on Dithiopin, Ciroc, all of them. Anyone you can think of, they tried, and none of them worked. So they ended up putting me on these tranquilizers just to mong me out.
Yeah.
And just one day, it just dawned on me, no help is coming. No one's going to help me. No one understands what I'm going through and the stuff that's happened in my life to put me in this state with murders and family splitting up and dealing with sexuality. That's a lot of stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
And the help just didn't come. It never came. No one, I felt like I was talking, people that were trying to talk to me just weren't speaking my language.
Yeah.
And it just dawned on me one day. I couldn't believe it. And I just threw all my pills in the bin. And literally within a day from being virtually wanting to unalive myself to being skipping back to work again was just overnight. Incredible.
Oh,
I couldn't believe it.
that's powerful.
Mm.
That's fair play, dude. Whatever's happened there, thank God it happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could express that better than, and I'm just listening to you. I wasn't even you, but just listening to you, thank God it happened. But what amazes me is just that, I don't know why people have these experiences and it's so sudden. It's just bang. What causes that? Well, bang.
No, you just reach your limit, didn't you? We've all got limits on everything. And once you snap, don't you?
Yeah.
I just, I know I've got a really bad, not a temper, but if somebody threatened my family or threatened my daughter, I would happily do jail time immediately.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I've always, I'm not an extremely social person. I don't really get involved in, other people's groups and things like that. I've very much been my own person and I do my own thing. And, like even with my channel, I do my own thing. I don't copy anybody else. I do what I do, and I don't feel like I need to fit in with any particular crowd. Do you know what I mean? I'm not out to impress anyone. Nothing I do now is about Netflixing or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that's,
Living your
which I'm
life.
sure we'll get to. Yeah,
Yeah.
has come to me later in life, and I wish I'd done it early. I'm sure everyone says the same thing,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I just do it for the love of it. I'm not in
Yeah.
this for the financial thing, or I'm going to get to this point and then do this. I'm not. It's a hobby. It's
Yeah.
all this is to me is a hobby. It
Yeah.
has those added benefits of being a good savings account and a good investment for the future, all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to get bogged down with facts and figures and the
Nah.
market and all that kind of boring stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm happily letting this stuff build up in the background, and it'll come in useful in the
Yeah.
future, I'm sure. And if I don't need it, then my daughter surely will.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
you know,
We'll get to that bit.
yeah,
So, man, well, I just want to thank you for just sharing that, because there's snippets that every now and then that me as a listener, and hopefully other people as listeners, but I can only talk for myself. People tell these parts of their stories, and I sit there and think, oh shit, wow.
yeah.
And it puts stuff into context so much. And I can't thank you enough for sharing that. I
I
really can't.
never.
And I'm
I'll,
really
t- I'll,
pleased that you've come
I'll tell you
through
why.
it
I'll tell
and
you why I
whatever.
do it, because I never talk about it. I
No.
never talk about anything like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, and unless it comes up in a one-on-one chat, I know I've had conversations with you
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the past
Yeah.
privately. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same with the stack. I nearly said his name then. The stack
Yeah.
collector,
Yeah.
as we shall call him. Haha.
Yeah.
I've had some great chats with him and a couple of little chats with Cobra. And I
Yeah.
just, if I'm in that situation and I'm talking, it's not something that I hide or that I'm embarrassed about or anything like that. It's just I don't particularly want people coming to me with all that kind of stuff and draining my energy. Do you know what I mean? Because I have to be careful. Having suffered from really serious depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, I have to be careful of how much I take in from other people. So it's very limited who I will talk to about that kind of stuff. But I'm happy to, if it helps people, I'm always happy to talk about it. But I mean, as we know,
Yeah.
some people wear their heart on their sleeves and they tell you their whole life story in five
Sure. Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
With me, things pop up in conversation
Yeah.
with friends that have known me for years, and they
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I didn't know you could speak German," or "I didn't know you'd been here," or "I didn't know you've
Yeah.
done that." And
Yeah.
I love that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That they don't know everything about me. I don't
Yeah.
want everyone to know everything
Yeah.
about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not secretive. I'm just a private person.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
So,
it's rare I get an opportunity to talk about. I know I've been on the Stack Chat probably about 6 times. I think I'm the OG,
yeah.
and I've been on there a lot. But obviously we don't go into deep life
No. No.
stories
No.
on the Stack Chat. It's all very light, and I enjoy it. It's very
Of
light-hearted stuff,
course.
and
Yeah.
gives you an opportunity to talk about something that we're all interested in, which is stacking.
Yeah.
But so this is just an opportunity, and people don't know about me. People are always sending me messages saying, how old are you? Where are you from? Who are you?
Oh,
I think, well,
no.
mind your own bloody business. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
It's
Yeah.
they everyone want, because they watch you on a YouTube channel or
Yeah.
in my case TikTok. They think they know you and you owe them something. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And they want to know everything about you. They want a face reveal all the time and all this kind of stuff. And I know you choose to show your face, and that's your
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
Me personally, with the stack growing where it's grown to, and
Sure.
having a young daughter, I choose not to.
Yeah.
If you're that recognized, and to me, in my mind, and you're seen
Sure.
somewhere, because I travel around a lot, and if I'm in a rough area of London and someone recognizes me and
Absolutely.
decides to kidnap me or something, you know what I mean? You don't know, do
Yeah.
you? So
No, they
it's
don't.
more for I'm a private person anyway, but it's more for
Yeah.
the security side of my family and things like that.
100%.
I'll share what I want to share. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you certainly don't need to see my ugly mug. Do you know what I mean?
Well, everyone's
Just
seen mine.
well, you know what I mean. You've seen
Yeah,
my
I know.
face,
Yeah.
and obviously
Yeah.
so has certain other people. But
Yeah.
it's not something I choose to share. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's cool.
That's just how I feel about it. Do you know what I
Absolutely
mean?
cool.
To me, my channel is about the silver, not about my face and
Yeah, exactly.
my thoughts or anything like that. So
Right.
this is why I don't get the opportunity to talk about stuff very often.
Oh, that's
It's very
nice.
rare.
Yeah.
So it's quite cathartic, and I appreciate what you're doing. I'm a big fan of what you're doing with these podcasts and things
Yeah.
like that, and chatting
Yeah.
to people. And
Yeah.
I mean, hello to anyone that's still actually awake and watching. Hi.
Oh, mate, I think, oh, wow, I'm having a lovely conversation with someone, and hopefully someone else watches it. But if not, I've enjoyed the experience anyway. So,
Yeah.
which is
I
really
do
cool.
have to, because I've mentioned the Mecca Bingo. I do have to give you my my bingo spiel, if you don't mind, just for a second. If you could,
Yeah, to
you
be
know,
fair, I want to go back there.
the
I want to go back there.
it's you're basically you're on a stage with a
Yeah,
microphone, so you feel like you're a pop star.
yeah,
And when you're walking around a room of 1,000 people, because in the intervals, like you give out change for the tabletop bingo that they play in the breaks,
okay.
and you go to one table and they say, "Oh, Griff, you've got the voice of an angel, perfect." And you go, "Oh, thanks very much." You go to the next table. "Oh, you're shit. You say the numbers way too fast. Can you slow down?" Yeah, no problem. Next table. "Oh, can you speed up a little bit?" You go a bit slow. And I'm walking around this bloody hall.
Yeah,
So it's a good lesson to learn that you'll never please everybody.
no,
But I I knew we had a lot of, because it is, there's a lot of old people that go to bingo. There's a lot of young
sure.
people that go to bingo as well, I hasten to add, but
Yeah,
there's a high percentage of older people, and you've got to be clear in your words and things like that. So
sure.
I'd be on stage and I'd be like this. It'd be 6 and 9, 69,
Yeah,
5 and 7, 57.
yeah,
And it was all like,
yeah,
almost like I was singing like an opera singer to them. Do you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And that, the 90% of the people loved it
yeah,
because I was so clear and enunciated the words so well. And you know what I mean?
yeah.
And the relationships you build up with the customers, and they'd knit me things. And one of them knitted me, she just gave me this little folded up bundle of wool. And I thought, "Oh, what's this?" And I'm stood on the podium, sort of introducing, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your magical Mecca experience." And you go going through all the spiel of the bingo books and all that kind of stuff. And then I said, "Brenda down here, it's her birthday, and she's knitted me this lovely," thinking it was like an egg cozy or something. And I unfurled it, and it was a willy warmer that she'd knitted me. Do you know what I mean? And
Nice.
it was just, but I used to have a great laugh. The manager would come
Brilliant.
on stage and introduce, your caller for this evening is Griff, you know what I mean? And
Griff,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah,
And he'd walk off down the the long corridor between all the seats. And
sure.
I'd be on the microphone going, "Let's all go to Tesco's, where
Yeah,
Trevor buys his best clothes. His shoes are really nifty." And the guys loved it. And I mean, you were an entertainer.
yeah,
Do you know what I
exactly.
mean? It was such good fun. Even though I'd done a full day at work,
Yeah,
I absolutely loved going there and working 70, 80 hours a week for 2 or 3 years
yeah,
to pay off the debt that I'd
sure,
just built up by
sure,
not, being off sick for 13 months. So
sure.
it was hard work, but I'd done it. I'm proud of myself to get myself out of these situations and
Oh,
get to where I am
100%.
today. I've worked
Yeah,
bloody hard and gone through a lot.
yeah,
So, nobody has the right to judge me or, say, "Oh, we shouldn't have that," or "We shouldn't do this," or blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I've gone through some frigging shit to get to where I am today, and I'm bloody proud of myself.
yeah. Sounds it, mate. That's really cool. So you obviously went through that, and then you had this experience, and then you sounds like you've got yourself out of that experience. And did that take you into your treasury work, or is this before that, or just so I can get a bit
This
of a time
this is
frame?
all before
Well,
and
okay,
all that
okay,
kind of area.
okay,
I think I was quite late in realizing that things didn't necessarily have to stop with what I initially thought I'd be doing
yeah,
vis-a-vis family wise. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
I did some research, and there's different options for different people that maybe can't have
sure,
kids or whatever, and blah blah
sure,
blah. But I ended
yeah,
up finding this group on Facebook, I think, of women that wanted to have a baby but not be in a relationship.
okay,
And I met some amazing people on there with amazing stories, and I had offers of women who wanted, or women that just loved to be pregnant, and they wanted me to have a baby and give me the baby.
all
And
right,
thing really, really weird. But I always knew I wanted to, almost be like a family type thing. And
yeah,
I
sure, yeah,
eventually met this couple who wanted to have a baby, but a lesbian couple who wanted to have a baby, but still wanted the dad involved. So we
okay.
went with them and did a bit of, sorry if this shocks anyone, because I know some people are a bit weird
Oh,
about stuff like this, but
fuck it all,
yeah,
mate.
but
It's part of
I
your
don't care
story,
personally, but I realize it's a bit of a weird area. But
No, it
anyway,
isn't.
this lesbian couple wanted a baby, and they just needed my baby gravy, basically.
Yeah,
So we looked online and realized you could just, provide a sample, as it were, and they
yeah,
would come around with a 10 ml syringe and squirt it in and legs
yeah.
up in the air for 10 minutes, and
Okay.
There's a cycle you have to follow where you hit the day before their what's called their hot day on their cycle, and
Yeah.
then you hit the hot day, and then 2 days after that, and we did that cycle for 3 months, and then she was pregnant.
Wow.
So, hence my little Ruby that some of you might have heard in my
I have,
recent
yes.
video.
There
Yeah,
you go.
bless her little cotton. So
Oh,
along came
wicked.
Ruby. I'm down on the birth certificate, obviously, as the father because I'm genetically her father, obviously. And yeah, we sort of divided it up, and she used to come every weekend to me, and then through the summer holidays, I have her, and then it's she's now 11. She just started high school, and yeah, I never thought it would happen. Obviously, being the way I am, I just thought I'm never going to have kids, and yeah, I thank whoever I need to thank. If there's a greater being out there that's enabled my life to go down that path, it's
Sure.
I'm very grateful to it. But yeah, along came Ruby, and I've
Hey.
again massive life change from being
Oh God, yeah.
a single gay man to suddenly having a kid. You know what I mean?
Oh,
My mum, when I told my mum, she nearly collapsed on the floor. She never expected her gay son to come home and say, "I'm having a baby."
yeah. Yeah.
So that was a big shock to the family as well, which I understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously they all took her to their hearts and they love her
Of
to pieces,
course.
obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm grateful for every day that I spend with her. Do you know what I mean? I'll be picking her up this weekend, and we have great fun together. I teach her, the skills that I have with English and the
Yeah.
oration. She's top of her class in all of that, and her punctuation and things like that, and spelling and grammar, and
Yeah.
her imagination as an only child is incredible. I sit outside her bedroom, and she's creating these stories out loud
Yeah.
to herself and
Yeah.
playing all these different characters. It's incredulous. It really is.
Magic. It's magic.
Yeah, she's
It's
amazing.
absolute
And
magic.
maybe the maths ain't quite good, but mine's not good either. But
Mm.
the reports we get back from the teachers in the school of just never mind the academics, what a kind and beautiful soul she is.
Yeah.
Every teacher on every report just says,
What a lovely person.
just what a lovely, bright, intelligent,
Yeah.
kind, caring, compassionate, empathic girl she is. And I'm proud of that. Do you know what I mean? Because your kids do learn from you, don't they? I picked up all my bad habits and my
Yes.
miserableness from my dad. And I've never wanted her to have that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So she has a great time with her mum and her partner. And then ever since I've been with my partner for 12, 13 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he was on board before we really sort of got together. So he was
Sure.
aware
Yeah.
that, Ruby's mum was pregnant
Yeah. Yeah.
and what I was doing. So that's great that she's grown up with him as well, because I'm still with the same partner, thankfully,
Yeah.
who I love to death. He's amazing and he's great with Ruby, and
Cool.
she's happy to spend time alone with him if I have to go off and work or do something, or
Yeah.
she's more than happy to be with him. He's like stepdad number two, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. She's lucky.
So yeah, works really well to
Yeah.
have two mums and two dads.
Oh man,
I think
she's
I
the
think
luckiest
she's
girl
very
in the
lucky.
world.
Yeah, basically, do you know what I mean? I don't spoil her. She's not a spoiled little brat in any way. I've
No.
taught her the value of money and
Sure.
what you need to do to get things, and she's quite happy to work. She's not a greedy person. She never asks for anything. She'd done a couple of videos with Trusty Metrics, just because she was interested in the Sigma machine.
Yep. Yep.
And she just done it off her own, fruition type thing. And the guys there were really, really grateful, because it sort of showed that the machine was good for kids to use, even though it's so easy to use, kids could use it. So they sent her £100 worth of these fugly monster things that she likes to collect, and
Wow.
she was over the moon. Do you know what I mean? She'd never ask, and she never would ask for anything. Do you know what I mean? She's so grateful for what she gets. You know what I mean? She's not. I hate spoiled kids who just, expect to have things and go in a tantrum if they don't get it. I've never in 11 years seen her in a bad mood or have a tantrum. Her mum has, because her mum's the sort of mum who, which is fine. Her mum's the sort of mum that goes, no, no, no. Oh, go on then. Whereas with me being quite strict from my dad's side of things, I go, no. And that's the end of the conversation. Do you know what I mean? Not in a nasty way. It's not always a no, obviously. I'm just saying that when I say no, she knows that's the end of the conversation. Yeah. So not that she asks for much anyway. Do you know, I have to sort of force out of her, what she wants for birthdays and Christmas and things like that. Do you know what I mean? And I'll give her I'll say, just pick, 10, 20 things off Amazon, put them in a basket, and then I'll pick stuff out of that selection as a surprise, because I'd rather her buy what she wants to buy. She learned very quickly that and cover your ears, guys, but Santa's not real. So she learned that quite young. So but she's not a greedy person at all. Not greedy. She's quite happy with a pencil case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's lovely. She really is. I'm not just saying that because she's my daughter, but she's just incredible. And I love the fact that I've got a daughter and people know, that I'm gay, because when they meet me, you can literally see the cogs going around, because they start to learn a bit about you, and you oh, you got a daughter, yeah, and oh, this is my partner, and they're like, what's going on here? You've got a daughter, but
how did that happen?
I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because they're too shy or feel like it's too rude to ask about it. Do you know what I mean? And I can see in their eyes they want to ask. I could just bloody ask about it. I'm quite happy to talk about it. Again, I don't force it on people. I get it's a bit of a weird scenario for some people. But, if people talk about it or ask me questions about it, I'll answer them all day long. I don't hide anything. I'm just not upfront with the information, because I'm sure, not everyone wants to hear it. Do you know what I mean? So, people get upset about people's rights and all that kind of stuff, and people being homophobic or whatever. I can't change people. It's not down to me to say you must feel like this and you must love me because the government says that gays are okay and you must like me. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? But if you don't like me as Griff, as me, that's your lookout. Do you know what I mean? What I am in the background is irrelevant. Totally irrelevant.
Of course it is.
And it's I'm just Griff. That's it at the end of the day. And if you like me or you like my personality, then great. Do you know what I mean? And if you're okay with me, I'm okay with you. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what you are or what colour your skin is, where you're from, what your religious beliefs are. I don't care in the slightest. Don't force it on me. But I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to know about, or be tried to convert it to whatever. Do you know what I mean? I am who I am, and I've got my thoughts and beliefs, and, that's it. But, knock yourself out. Do you know what I mean? If you, whatever you do and whatever you believe in, do you know what I mean? I'm happy to have discussions about it and learn a bit about it, not just be completely closed mind to this religion or this belief or this whatever. So, but, I won't be I'm 53 now. My mind's made up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to suddenly find myself in some weird cult in the Andean mountains. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, you never know.
Myself with, olive leaves. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? But
wicked, dude. Wicked. Right. I'm conscious of time. We've probably only got about half an hour left. So I'm going to jump. Thank you for sharing that, mate. And I'm pleased. That's all right. It sounds really cool that I was going to say, what was your daughter's name now? Sorry.
Ruby.
Yeah. Ruby's got the best thing in the world. She's got the love of parents, and that you can't give to anybody other than what you do for them. It's not a monetary thing. It's not a material thing. So I'm really proud and pleased that you've all come together. It sounds like a wonderful experience, especially considering what you've just shared. Yeah, I'm really pleased for you, dude. Really, really, genuinely. You wouldn't believe it, but you know that anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump back. You worked for the gym, because I just want to go back from when you left the General Civil Service, which I've got about when you was 34-ish, 2004.
Something like that, yeah.
Up to somehow we've got to squeeze in how you got into your coins and your channels and what you're doing now. So if you can give us like a little bit of a briefie from when you left, did you, what did you do to end up what you're doing now?
I kind of, because it's some of the jobs, what I would call the white collar jobs, are a bit more stressful and a bit more difficult to do. I tend throughout my career, I've gone from doing really sort of well paid white collar office jobs, and then going back to doing basic jobs. I mean, I've been a lorry driver, Mecca Bingo, do you know what I mean? Civil service, mental health, care work. I go from one to the other. I have a bit of a break, from careers, because I've never really known what I wanted to do or what my true forte is. I enjoy training people. Most of the jobs, every job I have had, I've ended up getting promoted in, because if you're doing the job, do the job. Do you know what I mean? Learn it. And, I think a lot of it is born from, I wanted to get the job down pat so I could get it done quicker and more efficiently and better, and, get home quicker. Do you know what I mean? So I've always been good at, getting up, not in a, I'm a mad, career driven, I must be at the top kind of thing. It's just naturally happened where I've just ended up being good at that job because I want to learn about it. I want to know all the ins and outs of that particular area, whether it be a niche area or more sort of widespread. And I've just always been in a position, supervisor, team leader, assistant manager. I spent a time working for NatWest as a advisor for them, and that was an experience because it was very sales driven, and they wanted you to, sell mortgages and loans and all that kind of credit cards.
Yeah.
And I was more interested in helping people that are in financial trouble. What the bank wanted to do at the time was maybe to consolidate all of your debt and put it in this high interest consolidation loan at 39%, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whereas what I'd done when I had my interviews with people, I'd sit them down and say, right, let's go through your ins, your outs, let's work this out. Do you know what I mean? Like my dad did with me when I was struggling when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I helped people that way. I was in a very affluent area, so all my sales points were met every month with investments and PIPs and ISAs and diamond saving account, all this kind of stuff. So I was smashing my targets every month, but they didn't like that my targets weren't made up of selling loans and mortgages.
Yeah.
I said, these guys are all rich. This area, I'll tell you the area, it's a place called Holt in Norfolk, and it's full of millionaires. They all retire from London and buy little cottages in this town. So I was surrounded by millionaires. Do you know what I mean? It was quite incredible. But that was very sort of sales driven. I did that for a couple of years, and then back to lorry driving and just anything I wanted to do. If I needed a break, I'd go and take an easy job for a little while. And it's hard when you put a CV in front of someone that says you're a project, trained IT project manager and IT infrastructure library manager and all these things that you've done and qualifications that I've got. They're like, why on earth do you want to do this little poultry job? You'll be gone in a week.
Sure.
I say, no, trust me, I need a break from all of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm quite happy to do the less stressful jobs. You know what I mean? For money's not everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're in a good job, but it's really stressful and you're working long hours, it's not good for you. Do you know what I mean? You need to. I would rather be poorer and happier than rich and stressed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quite seriously. Do you know what I mean? But I've doing all these jobs and obviously being very lucky on the property side and being invested in property, that's enabled me now to basically semi-retire at 53. I cut down about a year ago to just 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Because I can afford to. Do you know what I mean? And still collect all this.
Yeah.
So I feel very fortunate. I've been through some rough times. I've been homeless. I've followed people around the streets, waiting for them to drop their cigarette ends so I could have a drag of a fag.
Yeah.
It's, I've been down there pissing in bottles and you know what I mean? I've been the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
And, I will, I'm not, I'm comfortable. I've got some nice cars and motorbikes and things like that. You know what I mean? And I can, I can look after Ruby well and, my home is nice and
Sure.
I've worked hard. You know what I mean? I've been through a lot to get to where I am, but I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, I've got this and I've got this and I've got that and blah 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 and in that kind of way. I'm proud of where I am, where I've got to. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not the most comfortable and richest person in the world, obviously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm comfortable for me where I've been in my life. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy that I've got a good nest egg to pass on to my daughter, which is what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
She's not going to have to worry about property or things like that most people have to struggle with. And again, you get moaned at for that. Ooh, blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? People, blah, blah, blah. But tough shit. Sort your own life out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get out there and do it. Do you know what I mean? Work 80 hours a week. Do you know what I mean? To get that money. Do you know what I mean? If you so sitting there moaning about it, get off your fat ass and go and do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
that's my philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. So at what point did you discover this fascination for silver? How did that come about?
I'll tell you, I found, and I've got no interest in coins or silver or anything like that up until about 5 years ago. Okay. I just happened to notice a 50p with having Ruby as well, obviously, and Beatrix Potter stories. I noticed Peter Rabbit on a 50p. I thought, oh, never noticed that before. And went home and Googled it, which is the biggest mistake of my life. Realised it was this is the 2016 Peter Rabbit. Realised it was a set of 5, and I thought that would be nice for Ruby because you could buy little book from the Royal Mint. You could put them all in. I thought that's really sweet.
Yeah.
And then another set came out the year after, and another set came out the year after that, and I just found myself collecting. And then, as a collector and someone that likes to, hoard and collect things, you know what I mean? I thought I want this set, and then I wanted that set, and then I wanted every single coin that was ever done. So from 1971, from decimalization, because I've got no interest in pre-decimal coins are boring as sin, and if you collect them, you're boring. Anyway, that's my opinion. So yeah, 1971 right up to the most current Gruffalo that's just come out. I've got every single commemorative coin in 50s, £2 coins, 10p's, all of them. Wow. And it's worth quite a bit because obviously the Kew Gardens is 150 quid. Yeah. They've just announced the mintage figures for the Atlantic Salmon, and it's only 200,000 mintage. So that's already selling for 150 quid on eBay. Yeah. The Alphabet 10p's is 150 to 170 for a set of 2019s, A to Z, and that's like £2.60's worth of coins. But there are 170 quid in the album. So I was interested in the fact that these were coins in your change were worth, sometimes hundreds of pounds more than their face value. And I started doing my research, and I thought, I'll share a few videos about it. Do you know what I mean? And started putting a few videos out. And when I got to the end, it took me 4 years to collect every single coin, because obviously some of them are really hard to find. It took me 4 years to get them all. Wow. With the help of Tesco's. Thank you very much, because I was a duty manager at Tesco's and I did all the tills. Yeah. So I managed to find all these coins, and then I had loads of spares of Olympics and offside rules and Jemima puddle ducks and all that kind of stuff. And I traded all of those for Alphabet 10p's, because they were nigh on impossible to find in your change, and still are obviously even harder now, which is why they're worth so much money. And but yeah, it just started from that, because I wanted this Peter Rabbit for my daughter. And then, I got every single coin. When I got to the end, my collecting bug was still there, but there was nothing to collect because I got them all.
Right. Okay.
So I started to get the Piaford, so the double thick £2 coins.
All right. Okay.
Because they released all the £2 coins in Piaford silver, 935 silver. This isn't Piaford, this is pure silver, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I started collecting all the silver versions, because I still wanted to collect. I was still interested in the coins. Oh, wow. So I got a huge amount of those. And then I was just on YouTube one day and found Backyard Bullion.
Okay.
And the first video I saw of his was this coin.
All right.
This bloody Gothic crown.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God, that is a stunning, stunning coin. That was the first video I saw of his. He bought one, and then his friend had sent or loaned him gold versions of it. Okay. And I thought the detail in the coin and the Gothic writing around the edge, I was absolutely entranced. Yeah. So, of course, I immediately had to go out and buy one, which is what I did. And then I sent it off for grading, and I was lucky enough to get a PF70 Ultra Cameo, which is top grade, basically. Yeah. So what a beautiful coin, and it's still my favorite coin. I'm tempted to get a tattoo of it, actually. I love it that much. Yeah. And that started my passion for silver. I thought, this is really, really nice. And I started looking for other coins, and like a numpty, well, not a numpty, because we all start somewhere. I went to the Royal Mint, because that's where you think silver comes from. Yeah. And I bought my first Britannia. And I thought, this is really cool. And I started to learn that the Britannia was, our basic bullion coin for the UK, and that Australia had a kangaroo and China had a panda. And I thought, this is amazing. And off I went. And, many, many thousands of pounds later, I don't like to give facts and figures, but there's a lot. Oh, no. And again, I see it as boasting. And it's honestly not boasting. When people talk about stacking, I say literally two coins together like that is a stack. Yeah, don't worry about what everybody else has got. Enjoy the videos. The passion I've got for this stuff has just grown out of nowhere. And once I learned a few bits and pieces and realized that, there was other places you could go, like Atkinson's and Chards, and you could get VAT free silver with pre-owned silver and all this kind of stuff. I thought, why am I paying 37 for that one? And this one's only 26, you know what I mean? And the cycle goes on, and you meet people. And I've found these great bullion dealers on through Facebook groups, which I've talked about extensively in many of my videos, because the whole reason I started the silver channel is because I was seeing people overpaying for their silver. Okay. And I just thought I should share. I should share the fact that I'm paying, £21 for this 2024 Britannia that I've just bought, and not let people pay £35 at the Royal Mint. That's the whole reason I started. So it's not a flex. I was genuinely wanting to get my passion out there. People started watching my videos. It was amazing. and
And
just
this was
telling
on,
people
sorry, this was on TikTok, yeah?
on TikTok. Yeah.
You just purely went TikTok, yeah?
Yeah. I just went to TikTok, and because it was just easy to film on. I
Sure.
had tried YouTube in the past, but all
Yeah,
this uploading rubbish and
yeah,
all the things it has processing and all, oh, naff off. I can't be
yeah,
bothered with all that because I'm inherently lazy. Do you know what I mean? I want to just get it
yeah,
filmed and get it done and done. So, then I found all the Perth mint coins and I thought, oh my God, they're gorgeous. So I set myself a little goal of getting at least one of each animal that's ever been produced, which
yeah,
I'm getting very close to now. And you
yeah.
start off collecting a few series, and then the little buggers bring out their frigging coloured coins, don't they?
I
So
know.
you've got to get them. Do you know what I mean? And then I started on the bars because I didn't like bars. I thought, bars they're just lumps of metal. Why would you be interested in bars? And
Yeah,
then I realized a lot of the bars are actually coins.
yeah,
They've got a face value on them. And I thought, oh, I suddenly like bars. And
yeah,
many, many bars later, we're still going. And then obviously I got into the old collectibles, the stackers,
yeah.
which are all here, because I just think they're utterly, utterly stunning value
They
for the
are.
level of detail you get and the price. But again, I was seeing people paying 140, 150 quid. And I thought, no,
Yeah,
don't spend that money. Please don't
yeah,
spend that kind of money. I know it's pretty. And if you want something, go for it type of thing. But so, yeah, I just got it out there and got the prices out there and tell people where I buy them from. And yeah, it's lovely to see people collecting things that you're showing on your channel. Because, even though I'm just showing my passion and telling people where to buy cheaper stuff from, you are influencing people to do the same. And I know many people have messaged me to say, I've bought my first this because I saw it on your channel. You're like, oh my
oh,
God, you
lovely.
feel a bit responsible. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
at least I'm giving out the right information. I'm not liked by the resellers, obviously,
yeah,
who are selling all this stuff on their channels. They don't like me. If I go into their chats, they don't acknowledge me
yeah.
because I know where they're buying it from. Do you know what I mean? But I
Sure,
wouldn't
yeah.
go in there and shit on their chips. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It's just
no,
I'm there because I'm interested in what they're showing. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
it's I'm not there to ruin their day. We've all got to make a bit of money at the end of the day.
yeah,
But for me, to share a passion that I'm interested in and that my daughter's interested in, that's is a good savings tool.
sure.
Because if the cash is here, I'm spending it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? If I've got a
yeah,
wad of cash sitting there and the
yeah.
latest DVD, telly or laptop, whatever comes out, because I am a gadget freak. My other passion is drones,
Yes,
and I've got
yes. I was going to
four
ask
or
you about
five,
that. Yeah,
yeah, DJI drones, which are really expensive. But it's a hobby.
yeah,
It's not something I want to turn into a business because it's just an enjoyment thing for me.
yeah,
Same with silver. I would never want to turn this into a business or start reselling because
yeah,
when I buy a coin, I want to keep it.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I buy it because I like the pattern on it. Do you know what I mean? Or I like the design. Do you know what I mean? I'm not buying it for
yeah,
a business thing. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
just, it's something I'll overpay for things if I need to. I mean, the Rubik's Cube coin, which is obviously stunning,
yeah,
was that £150 when that came out? But it's already selling for double that already. Do you know what I mean? Not that
yeah,
I'm selling it, but you know what I mean?
yeah.
And obviously time goes on and you build up a bit of a reputation and other channels start to notice you and other companies. And I've had quite a few companies asking me to flog their wares, which I've turned down because it's not necessarily coin related. But then Spectre
Oh,
spoke to me.
really? Have you?
Yeah,
You get that? Do you get a lot of
yeah,
that?
I do. Yeah,
You do.
probably about over 10, definitely over 10 different companies have messaged me and asked me about different things. But I either haven't liked their product because I have to like it to flog
Sure.
it. If
Yeah, of
I'm going to
course.
be honest, my whole channel is based on being honest and helping people and prices and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and telling them how it is, telling them what they should be paying and where they shouldn't be buying from. We've all got a journey to go on. Don't get me wrong. So I'm happy to guide people through. But
of course.
to get to a stage where, I mean, obviously with the stackers, when they wrote to me about this, I thought, well, that fits in absolutely perfectly with my collection.
Sure.
Of course, and obviously
Sure.
they sent it for free. This is a $300 piece of silver. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the case, so I was chuffed to bits when they messaged me. And obviously, Backyard Bullion normally gets all the big guys
Yeah. Yeah.
wanting to flog their wares type of thing.
Yeah.
So for my little old channel, although I'm at over 2,700 followers now on TikTok. And it's just no nonsense. There's no frills in the background. Obviously, there's silver in the background, but you know what I mean. All the
Sure.
stuff that people have on their videos, and
It just
everyone
is what it
thinks that,
is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone copies the same people. My channel is this. It's silver. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Not this bit of tap from B&Q. It's
Yeah.
silver. Do you know what I mean? That's what I do. I'm not being
Yeah.
horrible to anyone. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I'm different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what my channel is about. So I'm really, really grateful. And I've got some other things partnership wise cooking in the background that I can't talk about yet, but I'm grateful. But I've done that myself.
Yeah.
It's my channel. I've done it my way, and I talk about what I want to talk about in the way I want to talk about it. I don't follow anybody else. I don't follow any trends, and I'm not slagging anybody off. I'm just saying that I'm different. Do you know what I mean? And things are growing quite nicely. So I'm really
It
chuffed.
keeps things fresh and unique, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's really important to have that diversification of creation and creators, and
Oh, definitely, definitely. So I
because
mean,
that
I would. It's enjoyable teaching, not to teaching people, but just explaining what you do and why you do it,
yeah, it's
and
important.
the benefits of it, and the things that I've learned. And I've learned a lot over the last year and a half to do with stacking and things like that, and what are good choices and what are maybe not so good choices with
Yeah,
proofs and things like that. I do have some proofs, but there's just you've got to get the right ones. It's very speculative, and you've got to be careful. If you like something, go and buy it, for God's sake. Even if whatever the price is, if it's something that fits in with you. That's why I got the Rubik's Cube, because that reminds me of my youth. You know what I mean? And I played with Rubik's Cubes and dismantled them and cheated and put them back to color, in the right places and all that kind of stuff. So that was an important piece for me. Do you know what I mean? There's many pieces that have cost way, way, way more than face value, but they're important pieces to me, and I love them. Do you know what I mean? So if you like things, go and buy them. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Nobody's got the right to laugh at you or mock you in any way. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I'm a bit of a frugal character. I want the most amount of prettiest silver I can get for the best price.
Well, yeah,
And
and
that's and
an
that's what I do. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I
and
used to just rush in and buy that. I just go, oh my God, I saw that coin. I'm
yeah,
going to buy it. Now I research it and I Google it and I'm YouTubing it and I'm checking everything and I'm looking at all the prices and I'm doing comparisons and do you know what I mean? I'm doing all sorts and I'm watching what the prices are doing with it. Is it falling? Is it going
sure,
up? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah, I love it. The whole thing is just
yeah,
amazing. And doing the research on some of these pieces that's more part of the enjoyment of it for me. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
all the time, the value of it's going up. So it's great, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It is, yeah, and it's important. It is so
It is.
important because I think we can all be very arrogant in what we do sometimes and think, oh, we know this and we know that. But the quickest thing I've learned that even though I think I know what I need to know, and then I listen to your channel or someone else's channel, and I think,
Mhm.
excuse my language, I go, fuck me, I didn't know that.
This,
And that
honestly,
helps me
yeah,
100% on what I'm
I,
trying to do.
I detest people who think they know it all
Yeah,
and boast about this and boast about that. I'm never about that. There's a reason my name is Noob.
yeah,
You know, what I mean, even though I've been doing what I've been doing for a long while, and I feel like I'm pretty clever when it comes to silver now,
yeah, yeah.
I would never change that name. I would never profess to be an expert in anything. I can
No,
give you my advice and give you my experiences of what's happened to me
yeah,
and where I found, the little path to get to the best price stuff. But I'm a noob. That's the end. That's every day's a school day. I
yeah,
love, again, like you, I'll watch other creators. I don't have time for everyone. I'm really
yeah,
sorry, but
yeah,
there's certain ones that I watch to see what they're collecting, what they're buying, and then I've definitely gone out and bought pieces I've seen on other people's channels,
yeah,
and it's nice when people message me say they've done the same. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
yeah,
I'll give you that gratitude if I see it. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
I just enjoy the whole thing about it. But I've never professed to be an expert in it. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. But if people want to talk to me about it or ask questions about
yeah,
anything about UK coins or
yeah,
silver, then I feel like I've got a good grasp and a good
yeah,
knowledge of those
yeah,
two areas.
yeah,
I might not be able to wire up a plug, but I mean, I can talk to you about silver and UK coins because I put that level of research in, and every single coin in my UK collection, I've obviously researched. I know the story of the design and who
yeah,
designed it and why it was designed, and
yeah,
computer collecting. You're interested in the whole
mm,
process of it, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't just get that and go, oh, it's a coin. I know
yeah,
that this casino is run by a certain family in America and blah blah. I do my research, you know what I mean? Because I think people are interested. I
yeah,
am. If
yeah,
somebody's talking about a silver piece they've got, I want to know the background to it. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely,
What
yeah,
mint made it? What's it celebrating? Do you know what I mean? I don't want people to just go, yeah, here's a silver coin. There
yeah,
you go. Here's a bar. That's
yeah,
nice. Got a dragon on it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Talk about it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Explain about it. And I thoroughly enjoy that. And if one person watched, I'd be chuffed.
yeah,
I'm quite lucky that, hundreds, sometimes thousands watch. It's really,
yeah,
I can't lie and say it doesn't give me a little buzz, but
yeah, of course it does.
I'm happy if one person watches, do you know what I mean? Or one
Yeah,
person gets something out of it, or one person saves a few quid
yeah,
on a coin they're interested in, or an art piece they're interested in.
yeah,
But everyone's got their own journey to go down, and it's their journey to
yeah,
have. But if they ask me questions, I'll certainly give them my experiences. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
as me and you know, we've spoken to several different collectors, and many people start off with a raw mint because that's where you
Yeah.
think silver comes from.
Yeah.
It's just a lack of knowledge, you know,
Yeah.
and or you're a bit worried that your silver's not going to be
Yeah.
genuine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's, you know, I buy off eBay, all sorts of places because you know if you know your stuff and the sellers are you know got thousands of sales and it's got 100% feedback and blah 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 and there's no negative stuff. It's you know, and I'm thankful to have that Sigma machine. Every single piece in my stack has been tested,
Yeah.
and everything has come back as pure silver. So I'm
Yeah.
really very lucky. Do you know what I mean? Because I have
And
bought a few what I thought
yeah,
was a few dodgy pieces, but
but I love the way you bring that whole. See, I understand more now. I understand how you can eloquent because I know your story in
mm,
more. I can understand how you so eloquently talk about what you're doing with your silver,
mm.
and you do it in such a short period of time. But it's so eloquently put. You can get away. I say you can get away with it. I don't mean that in like you can get away with it.
No, I
It's
know what you
just
mean.
because you're
Yeah,
so good at it,
yeah.
and that's what makes you know your channel so refreshing to watch and talking to you so refreshing to watch. I mean, when you did that Sigma machine review,
Yeah,
I just watched that and I thought, oh wow, I've now got because I'm lazy. I'm a lazy bugger. I'm a typical man. But now I don't have to read the instruction booklet. I can just refer to that every time.
I
How
could
do you do
not.
that? Because you did it so nicely, so well. It wasn't boring. It was just
No, no,
lovely.
no. I saw. I mean, obviously, we'd all love to have a Sigma machine.
Yeah,
They're,
of
you know,
course.
they're not cheap.
Yeah,
Let's, you know, the elephant in the room. They're not cheap.
yeah.
But I had many videos showing people how to test your silver at home, with just your home stuff, with your ping test and your ping coin apps and your weights and your measurements. And I have my little striking thing here, and you get all those frequencies. And I learned all about that because I wanted to test my own silver. And yes, of course, all the silver passed all of these home tests, but to have that precious metal verifier is just it is so nice. Do you know what I mean? And to have it still here and to be able to just I mean, this stuff's all come in over the last few days, and I just whack it straight on there. Yeah, brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Saves me getting all my stuff out and this out and my calipers and my scales and all that kind of stuff. It's and I thought it was a really good machine, and I saw it on Backyard Bullion, obviously, as everything we do, because he's like, you know, he must be the biggest YouTuber on silver stacking in the UK. I don't know anyone bigger anyway. So, and I liked, you know, what he was talking about. I know some people have an issue with him and maybe things that he might have done in the past, but I only know him from this coin stage onwards and how he's been, and I quite enjoy his content. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't have 67,000 followers if people didn't like him or what he was
Exactly.
doing. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I don't
yeah.
subscribe to anyone slagging him off.
No,
But anyway, I saw the machine on there and I just, you know, started doing a bit of research about it. You know, what is a precious metal via? How does it test? How does it get test the horrible word this resistivity of silver and learning
yeah.
that different coins have or different metals have different, you know,
Mm,
frequencies and all that kind of
mm.
stuff. And I was a bit cheeky. I'm not going to lie. I emailed Sigma or Trusty Metrics and said, you know, I've seen this machine. I'm not a huge channel, but I will do my homework and I will give it a good, honest review. Do you know what I mean? And he said to me, "Funny you've contacted me because my girlfriend has recently in the last week found your TikTok channel through like a
Wow.
funny video I've done just little skits I do now and again, like the one
Yeah,
where I did the one where I'm going to test my mate's gold and I'm,
yeah,
you know, on a motorbike and on a train and blah blah blah."
yeah.
She was laughing at that, which took him onto my channel. He said I was going to contact you anyway. I thought, well,
Wow.
that's great. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know, started this little partnership with them and created quite a few videos for them. But I
Yeah.
will not sit in front of this camera talking bollocks.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to make myself look completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I knew the machine was coming. I spent weeks. I downloaded the PDF for the manual and I read that bugger cover to cover. I watched all the big YouTubers in America that had the machine and what their thoughts on it were and blah, blah, blah. So I knew the machine inside out before I got it.
Sure.
And I'm not going to disrespect anybody else's content or what they do, blah, blah, blah.
No.
But I do feel that, you know, most of the ones that I've seen, people get it out of the box, stab at it blindly until they get something right on the screen
Yeah.
and then chuck their silver on there. It hasn't really been explained.
Yeah.
The grades and the way it goes into the yellow and what that means
Yeah.
about the machine, the level of the prongs, how deep the little prongs go through the metal and all that kind. I just wanted to get all. I did 2 videos to explain it from start to finish,
Yep.
and then I did a few comedy ones just to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
But yeah, if you give me a job to do, then I'll do my research and do it properly because I don't want to look like a twat on here. I don't want
No.
people messaging me going, "Well, actually, you're wrong,
Yeah,
Griff. It
yeah,
does this, this, and this." You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because they're all out there, aren't they?
Of
Sad
course.
little
Yeah.
keyboard warriors that sit there judging people. And I'm very lucky
Oh
in a year and a
yes.
half. I think I've only had like two negative messages out of 100 and whatever it is videos I've done,
Yeah.
and not negative as in like you're a fat twat or anything, but just like maybe trying to correct a fact and they've been wrong. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I've just deleted them. Do you know what I mean? Get a
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
it's sad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying that I'm perfect. If someone points out something I've said wrong, I'll quite happily take it on the chin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't care about the background of it. I don't care about the markets. I don't care what's up, what's down. I don't care about bloody dollar coin. I don't care anything all that fancy stuff people talk about. I just like silver and I like collecting it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? End of that. And if I can help people, even better. And if I could make someone laugh, even better again.
You
Do you
always
know what I
make
mean?
me
Because
laugh.
I do serious videos, obviously, but
I know you do.
I do fun ones as well.
Yeah.
You
It's
know.
brilliant, dude. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to ask you a question because well, we're coming up to 2 hours. That's gone so quick.
Sorry,
Um,
guys.
no, don't say sorry. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because what I would love to do, if you would like to come back as a part two,
Hmm.
is actually talk about silver and your collection and silver as, we can have that conversation together then.
That'd be
A little bit
cool.
more about silver and the state of silver and the silver community, and
Hmm.
not too much detail, but what our feelings are on what you're doing, what I'm doing, and just generally talk about silver because I think that would be a fascinating,
That would
wonderful
be a good chat.
conversation.
I'd be very much up for that.
Yeah, I would love that as a part two,
Mm.
very much
Super
so.
duper.
Yeah, thank you so much, dude. I've really enjoyed this. I think you've been very, very. I'm going to say brave. You might not say that because I know it takes a lot for people to talk about their
Yeah.
certain situations in life. I really do appreciate it. I think it's
I'm now panicking about what I've said, and I'll have to go back and watch it when it comes out now.
I don't think you've said anything that you should worry about personally. If you
Cool.
want, if
Sorry
you want,
if I have shocked a few people though with how Ruby came about and who I am, then sorry about that. But tough.
my message is fuck you, fuck you if you're shocked because that's reality. And this is this
Yeah.
is this is what I'm trying to bring. I'm trying to
Mm,
keep in this space reality. There's reality out there in this world that
mm,
it's very easy to forget about in a virtual world.
mhm.
And it's important that we all recognize that people out there that we're all the same, more than anything. Who the hell's that? Oh God,
You
the what podcast?
make sure you're following the What podcast. Tell your friends about it. Tell him about it. There's his email if you want to have a little chat with him about anything. He's really approachable. He's a really good chap. And I can't not say anything about this beautiful Bitcoin
Oh,
you sent
mate,
me.
my beautiful
What a
piece.
beautiful coin that is. Are you
Yeah,
missing it already?
mate, yeah. If
Hang
I'm
on, hang on.
deadly honest.
I'm just gonna lick the case.
Oh
Oh,
God.
that's nice. Beautiful. Tastes beautiful.
Yeah, that's the
I really
closest.
appreciate this coin, mate. I really do. It fits
Oh,
in with my
bless you.
collection so well. So,
Yeah, it's
thank you very much.
that's I've always been on the search for a gold version, but they're like rocking all shit.
I bet.
And very expensive if you do see one. But I'll get one day,
Yeah.
possibly,
No, I
possibly.
appreciate you, mate.
So
You're a
that was the
top.
that
You
was
know
the
you are.
closest thing. That was the closest thing I had to a
Yeah.
gold version.
You're
But
Andy. Listen, you're a top bloke. You really are. Your personality and how you are and how you engage with people, how you talk, your fascination with human behavior, and
hmm,
it matches mine. Do you know what I mean? I would not be wasting my breath talking to you if I didn't think you're a really decent bloke. I really do appreciate it.
that's an absolute pleasure. We've had quite a few conversations offline, and it's been an absolute. I love it. I absolutely love it, dude. Because it's honest and raw.
Yeah,
There's too much bollocks and we'll get into this on version two, but there's too much bollocks and bullshit most of the
yeah,
time, and I think we have to recognise, there's the truth sometimes,
yeah,
and if we can recognise the truth, we all get on better, and
yeah.
we enrich our lives. So that's all fair play to you and the many people that come on here. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't thank you enough. Now, this is your chance just to tell anyone where they can find you. on social
Um,
media?
Yeah, on TikTok primarily. 20% on TikTok. YouTube, same name because people harass me to do YouTube videos. People who are a bit wary about downloading TikTok, something to do with China, I don't know. But yeah, but I enjoy TikTok. It's good fun. There's a great community on there. There's more people coming over to TikTok. I feel like it's a good place to influence younger collectors because many of the viewers are like, 18 to 35, that kind of age range on my statistics. So that's quite nice because there's a lot of younger people getting involved. But yeah, TikTok, come over there. Please give us a follow over there. But if not, do follow my YouTube account. If I get more followers on there, I'll start putting more stuff on there as well and get that growing a little bit. It's a bit of a faff, but Instagram as well. Same every social you can think of, I'm on there under the name of CoinNoob71. So yeah, there you can find me. Give me a
Oh,
follow.
that's great, bud. I'll put all that info in the description of this video anyway. So I can't thank you enough, mate, and I can't wait for part two because we can explore things very differently,
Yeah,
without a doubt. So yeah,
definitely.
thanks,
I
buddy.
feel like part two will probably upset even more people, but there we go.
There's a possibility. There is a possibility, but that's
I can't hide it. I do have strong opinions about certain things, and yeah, given the forum, they might come out. So,
yeah. But we'll just see where it goes between
all
us.
right, buddy. Thank you very much.
I can't. Yeah, as I said, I keep blowing smoke up your ass. Thank you very much indeed.